Tell you what, let's have a little bit of fun here. Let's age this image all in Camera Raw. Got an image open. Let's start by coming over here. Got a button called FX, and click that button. This gives us a grain and a vignette, and we're going to use both of those. So we'll start by adding a grain to the image. We'll come over here and let's just shoot everything over to the right. Amount speaks for itself. It's the volume control for how much. Size makes the grain bigger, and roughness makes it more random. Now that's more than what I want, but I usually start kind of over here and then pull it back. So let's take our amount down a little bit more, and I don't want quite that big in terms of size. And the roughness, let's even that out just a little, something maybe like about like that. That's helping out. Now that we've got the grain set, let's get into post-crop vignetting. You have three options. You've got highlight, color, and paint. Highlight priority basically applies post-cropped to the image while protecting your highlight areas, but it could lead to color shifts in the real dark areas of the image. It's good for things with really important highlights. You want to make sure that they come through. Color priority applies the post-cropped while preserving color use, but it could lead to a loss of detail in really bright highlights. And the final one, paint overlay, applies post-cropped. It blends original colors with black or white, and it's appropriate when you want a real soft effect. They all have their disadvantages. It could reduce highlight contrast. What I do is I put the crop in place, and then I decide which one I want with my eyes, not by some definition. Let's start with, say, maybe color priority. All right, let's change the amount. Now, amount, positive values lighten the corners, negative values darken them. So if we go negative, which we want, we're going to darken the corners and begin creating the vignette. The midpoint, higher values restrict the adjustment to the area closer to the corners. Lower values apply the adjustment to larger areas away from the corners. So we can go this way, or we can go this way to kind of increase it. The roundness speaks for itself. Do you want a round vignette or do you want an oval? We can go this way to make it a little bit more rectangular, if you will. If I take the feather all the way down, you can see exactly what we're doing. Actually, that's what I usually do. That gives me an idea of where to place my vignette before I refeather it. Let's give it a little bit more feather. Highlights control the degree of highlight, if you will, punch in the brighter areas of the image, like the glow of a neon sign or something. I usually don't use highlights because I want my vignette to be complete around the edges. If you use this, some of these things are going to come through the vignette, especially in the form of bright lights. That's a good effect, but I'd rather not use it. So we've got all this done. Let's do one more thing. We'll click Convert. Now our mix is dealing with colors. Even though the colors are in shades of gray, the colors still influence what we do. For example, in Hollywood back years ago before they had color film, they would shoot most of their actors, even using grayscale films or black and white films, using a green filter, which really accented the roughness of, say, a John Wayne. In our case, we don't have a lot of reds. I usually use just the primaries, red, green, and blue, but watch what happens if I go into my greens and begin changing it. All right, it begins lightening up the green areas, or I could go the other way to darken up some of those green areas and create a little bit more chromatic, kind of like contrast. And blues, the same thing. We could shift them just a little bit to get that water maybe a little bit lighter. Let's say we like this. We've taken a color image and we've kind of made it look a little bit more like an old image, all in Camera Raw. We're not even in Photoshop, but I like this enough that I'd like to keep the feature. So we're going to come up to this button right here, and we're going to go into Save Settings. And when we save them, we get the ability to save anything we want to save. What we did to the image basically was some balancing and some vignetting. All that stuff is here, as you can see. We'll just leave everything on and click Save. We'll tell the computer this is age with grain and PCV, post-crop vignette. Make sure you save it in this folder. That's the default. That's important because it'll come back and find it easier for you. Okay, now the cool thing is, if you click this button right here, everything that you have ever saved in any preset that you've ever done will be in this list no matter when you open up RAW. So if we open up another image and we want to apply age with grain and PCV, all I've got to do is click that button. Here's another one I did called Winter in Wichita. We did that one earlier, actually. You have the ability to save these presets, but the cool thing is it's easy to get to them too. So don't forget you have the availability of presets once you've saved them, and you can apply them to any image that you want.